In comics, the idea of a shared universe in which multiple creators contribute to the ongoing development of characters, worlds, and storylines all within a singular overarching continuity is as old as the medium itself. In the 1970s, comics historian Don Markstein was the first to formally outline the concept of the shared universe. Chief among Markstein's criteria was that if characters A and B have met, then they're in the same universe, and if characters B and C have met, then transitively A and C are also in the same universe. The Marvel milieu, first established by creators such as Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, and Steve Ditko in the 1960s, in which Namor the Submariner could surface in the pages of the Avengers, while the Amazing Spider-Man tangles with the Fantastic Four, was central to the publisher's appeal. Meanwhile, DC's Batman and Superman made regular excursions from their own solo titles to team up in the pages of World's Finest, or better yet, join the all-star ensemble of the Justice League. Look, shared universes rule, but with all the baggage of compounded continuity and tangled intertextuality, they can also be a massive pain in the arse. Add to that 7 of the biggest names in comics in the 1990s, all vying to maintain control of their creator-owned characters, and what you get is a comic book universe that was pretty much doomed to dissolution. Hey heroes, I'm Josh from Panels to Pixels, and this is the life and death of the Image universe. Part 1. Life. 30 years ago, 7 of the best-selling artists in comics left Marvel in a mass exodus to form an entirely new comic book company. After driving single-issue sales to an all-time high on titles like Spider-Man, X-Men, and X-Force, illustrators Todd McFarlane, Jim Lee, Rob Liefeld, Mark Silvestri, Eric Larson, Jim Valentino, and Will Spataccio joined forces to take on the superhero publishing establishment, and in the process change creator-owned comics forever. Image Comics exploded onto the scene with Rob Liefeld's Youngblood issue 1, cover dated April 1992, followed shortly by Eric Larson's The Savage Dragon, Todd McFarlane's Spawn, and Jim Lee's WildC.A.T.s. And with that, a new superhero universe was born. But before we go any further, I do just want to say that yes, 2022 marks the 30th anniversary of Image Comics. And as ComicTube's most unapologetic 90s comics enthusiast, I don't think anybody is more excited about that than I am. Except for maybe Rob Liefeld, but you know, he's always excited. He's a very excitable person. Anyway, I've got quite a few videos about Image Comics and characters, particularly from the 90s, planned for this year, so if you haven't already, now would be a really great time to subscribe to Panels to Pixels, and give that bell icon a little ring-a-ding-ding so you never miss out on future episodes. But back to this one. During an interview with all 7 Image founders around the time of the company's launch, Eric Larson was quick to point out the continuity between the Image titles, telling Wizard magazine,
"I don't know if it's been said, but all these books will be existing in the same universe, so they'll be crossing over with villains, each other, and everything else."
Later in that same interview, Jim Lee elaborated further.
But not only that, it's a virgin universe. It's not something you have to read years and years of to understand. There should be a sense that you're jumping in at the very beginning, the ground floor. And because we're not going to be just inundating the market with more and more books,
Lol. Sorry, Jim. Carry on.
It's the kind of development that will be done carefully and slowly with all the creators' approval.
For comic book readers in the 1990s, it was an exciting proposition, a burgeoning new universe in which chain wielders and spiky accessorizers alike could coexist with about 17 different mutant teams that are definitely not just X-Men ripoffs, guys, okay? So stop saying that because it's definitely not true. Todd McFarlane, creator of Spawn, meanwhile, was a little more skeptical about the idea of an Image shared universe. Speaking to Wizard just a few months after the publisher's launch, McFarlane outlined his position on crossover events.
Even though it sells and it seems to work, in my mind you can't really come up with something that's big enough to really justify something like that. It's gotta be something like the end of the Earth or something like that, because all characters don't fit into the same storylines. Even the Secret Wars Spider-Man shouldn't be there on an alien planet. That's my personal opinion. Sometimes it's hard to mix certain superheroes together with certain bad guys and have it work. I'd rather tell you the truth. Just crossover with characters that I think fit in with Spawn and vice versa. And maybe go looking to other companies to do crossovers.
But crossover the Image characters did. Savage Dragon pops up in Spawn issue 4, and these events are then mirrored in the pages of The Dragon issue 4. Jim Valentino's Shadowhawk debuts in a backup story in Rob Liefeld's Youngblood issue 2, before getting his own solo miniseries. in which the mirror-chromed masked vigilante also meets up with Savage Dragon in Shadowhawk issue 4. WildC.A.T.s issues 2 and 3 saw Jim Lee and Brandon Choi's covert action team facing off against Youngblood, before inevitably putting aside their differences to defeat the Demonites. WildC.A.T.s then meet Marc Silvestri's Cyberforce in the Killer Instinct storyline, and it all culminated in the publisher's first company-wide crossover event, Deathmate, itself a crossover with the Valiant Comics universe. For a while there, it seemed as if the promise of the Image shared universe had been fulfilled. All the coolest new toys in one big toy box. But like, the toy box has flames painted on the side and spikes, and it's all wrapped around with chains, and it has a big gun that's also an energy sword, and also the toy box is a mutant cyborg from space who listens exclusively to thrash metal. Yeah. What I'm saying is, it was a pretty f***ing sweet toy box. At first. Part 2. Death. When Image Comics first emerged in 1992, the company had two clear mission statements. Number 1, Image would not own any creator's work, the creator would. And number 2, no Image partner would interfere creatively or financially with any other partner's work. You see, Image Comics is just a publisher, in the truest sense of the word. It publishes comic books, but it does not produce comic books, nor does it retain the rights to any work it publishes. As part of the formation of Image, each partner founded their own studio, which would publish under the Image banner, but be completely autonomous from any central editorial control. What ensued was a kind of arms race between all the different studios to populate their portfolios with new characters. And with no real editorial oversight to tie these increasingly disparate corners of the Image universe together, inter-studio crossovers became less and less common. Additionally, the nature of allowing each creator to retain the right to their respective creations led to many characters exiting the Image universe due to real-world business factors, therefore screwing up any semblance of a shared continuity. One major example of this came in 1996, when Rob Liefeld resigned from Image, taking with him his Extreme Studios stable of superheroes. The problem was that one of Liefeld's characters, Chapel, who first appeared in Youngblood issue number 1, was inextricably linked to Spawn's origin, given that he was the one who originally shot and killed Al Simmons. When it came to producing the Spawn movie, which was released the following year in 1997, Todd McFarlane created the character Jessica Priest to serve as a substitute for Chapel, and he later retconned Priest to be Spawn's killer in the comics too. Also in 1996, Image Comics published Shattered Image, a 4-issue miniseries crossover mega event published by Jim Lee's Wildstorm. Following Marc Silvestri's withdrawal of his Top Cow imprint and preempting the sale of Wildstorm to DC, Shattered Image was an attempt to put the Image house in order, once and for all. This was a statement of intent. The 7 sets of characters owned by the 7 Image founders all exist in 7 separate realities, which in turn exist within one omniverse. And even though those 7 realities are all colliding in a universe-ending incursion event, the comic falls over itself to point out that, again, just to be clear, these are 7 legally and creatively distinct realities. One of my favourite comic book writers of all time, Kurt Busiek, takes a valiant swing at this story, which essentially boils down to intellectual property management for the 7 wealthiest men in comics at the time, before kind of going off on a metatextual tangent involving the big bad Entropy, and how Entropy is both nominally and literally the enemy of all comic book characters. Oh hey, it's Bug Bloke and the Zed people. Look, whatever, we don't have to get into all that. Shattered Image is not good, honestly. I read the whole thing for the first time for this video, and I think I am significantly stupider for having done so. The event climaxes in the Top Cow-owned Cyberforce telling the other Image heroes, no hard feelings, but we're gonna peace out for a bit. So, see ya. And with that, the Image shared universe was showing more cracks than a plumber's yoga class. But one young fan who had been paying particular attention to the shared continuity between Image characters in the 1990s was Robert Kirkman, creator of The Walking Dead and Invincible. An Image Comics obsessive in his youth, Kirkman published several of his creator-owned comics through Image, garnering critical and commercial success, before becoming the company's first new partner since its founding. In 2009, the writer paid tribute to the edgy icons of his teenage years in the pages of Invincible, issue 60. In a story titled Invincible War, the eponymous hero teams up with a cavalcade of 90s Image characters to fight an army of interdimensional interlopers. That same year, Kirkman would write Image United, an ambitious collaboration between 6 of the 7 Image founders that would see each creator drawing their own characters in one giant cataclysmic crossover event. Unfortunately, having 6 artists all jamming on multiple pages across a 6-issue miniseries would prove to be a bigger logistical challenge than initially expected, and after only 3 published issues, Image United has remained unfinished to this day. It's kind of emblematic of how disunited the Image universe had become by 2009, that a crossover event specifically designed to bring these creators and their characters together in any meaningful way once and for all would just fall apart. But the truth is that the final nail in the coffin of any notion of a shared Image universe had already been struck years earlier with the publication of Savage Dragon issue 103, cover dated September 2002. Here, Erik Larsen depicts the literal destruction of the Earth at the hands of the Galactus-like Universo, because subtlety is overrated, I guess, before soft resetting the series on an entirely new Earth. That's right, the Earth and most of its population was completely destroyed in Savage Dragon, rendering all past and future continuity with the rest of the Image publishing line null and void. Yeah, good luck surviving that one, Shadowhawk. And as recently as last year, Todd McFarlane announced that Spawn would be spinning off into his own shared universe of Spawn characters, with a diverse range of heroes such as King Spawn, Gunslinger Spawn, Achy Breaky Spawn, Live from the Improv Spawn, and Spawn with new hat. Alright, some of those are made up, but you get the point. So what does this all mean for fans? I won't lie, I am a 90s Image superfan. I'm one of those readers for whom the appeal of Image Comics was a brand new, flourishing shared universe. I get a kick out of the idea that Spawn might bump into Shadowhawk on the streets of New York, or Youngblood might find themselves in Chicago teaming up with the Savage Dragon. To me, this shared universe is as much a part of superhero comics as spandex suits or onomatopoeic sound effects. Writing in a 2005 column titled One Fan's Opinion, Erik Larsen offers a surprisingly simple solution to readers who long for a world in which the grimmest, grittiest, most extreme heroes in all of comics can get together and go bowling on their day off.
Every book at Image exists in its own separate universe.
Oh, okay, well, that's pretty definitive. But Larsen continues.
Every character that comes into another character's book exists in that universe as well as in their own. When characters meet, we get to see events, which take place in both characters' respective universes. In other words, when Savage Dragon meets Invincible, it's an event that Invincible experienced in his life and his universe, and it's an event that Savage Dragon experienced in his life in his universe. Duplicate events took place simultaneously in both universes.
Erik Larsen argues that these distinct universes, unconfined by a shared continuity, are essential to Image's core values of creator ownership and complete creative freedom. That artists and writers shouldn't be bound by the character depictions and story decisions of other artists and writers. The truth is that the Image Eye has always stood for independence, the independence of its creators, and by extension the independence of their work. And look, if a disconnected universe is the cost of complete authorial vision, I think I speak for most fans when I say that it's a small price to pay. Hey, thanks for watching this video. If you made it this far, I'm curious to know, do you wish that Image Comics had a more connected universe? How important is shared continuity to you in superhero comics? Let me know down in the comments below because it's something that I'm genuinely interested in. Special thanks to Matt Draper, Doug from For Every Kind of Geek, and Evan from WildC.A.T.s for lending me their voices. Links to all of their channels can be found in the description below. They're all excellent, some of my favourite comic book and video game YouTubers in the game, so I was really happy that they agreed to be in this video, and you should definitely go and check them out. If you like this video and you want to see more stuff like this, don't forget to subscribe to Panels to Pixels and give that bell icon a little ring-a-ding-ding so you never miss out on future episodes. Until we meet again, heroes, be kind, be happy, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.